I'm Sarah, and this is Kieran, and this is our farm in the forest. We're on a journey to become self-sufficient, and to get there, we are harvesting rainwater, chopping our own wood, and growing our own food. We've been on a never-ending roller coaster of challenges and successes while we've been creating these 25 acres into our dream property. But seeing this place transform from a place filled with garbage into a peaceful sanctuary has given us more purpose than we could ever dream of. This is our third growing season at the homestead, and the learning curve has been steep. We had barely any garden experience before we started, but our motivation was through the roof. And we must have done something right, because we've been able to grow an insane amount of food to feed ourselves, our friends, and volunteers since the day we started. Since our goal is to be self-sufficient, our aim is a little bit different from a conventional farmer or a kitchen gardener. We don't need hundreds of carrots that are ripe at the same time, where each one is the same size. And we're not interested in supplementing our diet with a few homegrown tomatoes and herbs. We want as much food as possible for as long as possible in the smallest space possible. Therefore, I've created a list of 5 things I take into consideration when planning and planting the self-sufficient garden that might be helpful if you're planning your own garden. The first question I ask myself when I plan a garden for self-sufficiency is, what food do we eat? For 2 seasons now, I've been completely blinded by all the shiny seeds and bought way too much of everything, even things we don't really eat or don't eat that much of. I've grown way too much of vegetables like celery, beets, Asian greens, and Swiss chard. And although we definitely eat those vegetables, we don't need multiple beds of them. So this year I have identified 14 staple crops for us, which are pumpkins, zucchini, peas, beans, salad, potatoes, carrots, cabbage, broccoli, tomatoes, onion, leek, garlic, and cucumber. And I'm going to allocate about 70% of the garden space to these, and then let the rest of the space be open for less important crops. The second question I ask myself is, can it be stored? It's easy to feed ourselves during the height of summer, but for a self-sufficient gardener, it's important to think about how you're going to feed yourself through the rest of the year. We live in Norway, where we have winter 5 months out of the year, and our garden is only fully producing from July to October, which is quite a short time period to produce all the food that we need for an entire year. So to us, it's really important to have food that can store for a really long time. Vegetables that are great for storing as is are onions, garlic, pumpkins, cabbages, carrots, beets, and leeks. So I'm definitely allocating a lot of space and energy to these vegetables. We also blanch and freeze a lot of vegetables, like broccoli, cauliflower, beans, peas, and greens, in addition to making pestos and tomato sauce that we also freeze. We also do a lot of foraging and dry herbs and teas, in addition to fermenting and pickling beets, cucumbers, and sauerkraut. Preserving food and making jams isn't something we've gotten into yet, mostly because our trees and bushes aren't producing, but it's something we will focus on more in the next years. Does it have medicinal purposes? I mentioned in one of our garden videos that I wanted to focus more on medicinal plants and flowers this year. I think more so than ever, it's important to have a strong immune system and to focus more on prevention rather than treatment. So this year, I'm allocating much more space to medicinal plants like calendula, echinacea, arnica, and chamomile, and we're also spending a lot more time foraging plants like nettle, plantain, yarrow, and dandelion, which again we're going to dry and use for tea, balms, and soap. Next question I think about when creating the self-sufficient garden is what can we grow so we can save money on food? Here I'm thinking especially of food that we either eat a lot of or food that is expensive at the store. We eat a lot of onion, broccoli, beans, salad, and cabbage, and although these aren't necessarily the most expensive items at the store, it will save us a lot of money being able to grow them ourselves. We also planted several perennials, like asparagus and strawberries. And although it's not something we eat a lot of, it will save us money in the long run as they come back year after year. The last thing I think about when growing a self-sufficient garden is the vegetable winter hardy. Since our growing season is so short with last frost around mid-May and first frost around mid-September, it's really important to think about season extension. Therefore I plant throughout the summer vegetables that I plan to leave in the ground for as long as possible, even after the last frost. These vegetables include cabbage, beets, kale, sunchokes, leeks, carrot, parsnip, and other root vegetables. When most of the garden dies when the first frost hits, those vegetables will keep us fed to mid-December, as they can just be left in the garden until the ground is too frozen to get them out. As a bonus, I thought I would add 5 vegetables that I think are really worth growing for self-sufficiency. First one is not a surprise to anyone who knows us or have been watching our channel. It's pumpkins. They store forever, they're super versatile. You can make both soups, desserts, drinks, or bake them in the oven, and they're beautiful as decorations. My favorite thing to do with pumpkins is to make pumpkin spice latte, pumpkin soup, and pumpkin pie. They're also a great food for animals in winter. Second is beans and peas. They're super easy to grow, you can direct sow them, and they store really well in the freezer. They're yummy both raw, boiled, and pan-fried, and a great source of protein. Third is broccoli. I grew broccoli successfully for the first time last year, and this is a plant that just keeps on giving. After harvesting the giant first broccoli head, it produced another 2 heads of the same size as the store-bought one. And after that, countless little shoots. I left the plants in the ground the entire season, and they produced until the very first days of winter. We blanched most of our broccoli, and it was a great addition to meals during winter. Fourth is cabbage. We love cabbage and eat it both raw as a salad in winter when we don't have fresh greens, and fermented. They also store for a long time in the basement. And last one is strawberries. Norway is famous for its incredible strawberries. There is nothing better than a Norwegian-grown strawberry. However, they're very expensive, so it's best when you can grow your own without using pesticides. It's also perennial that will come again year after year in your garden. I hope these tips were of any help, and good luck in the garden.